Hey friends, have you ever stopped to wonder if the smallest coin in your pocket, something as simple and ordinary as a 1-cent piece, could secretly hold the kind of value that transforms lives, creates instant millionaires, and leaves historians, collectors, and everyday treasure hunters speechless? Because the 1964 D1-cent USA coin has become one of the most shocking discoveries in the world of rare money, with reports and expert analyses placing its face value not at 1 cent, but at an earth-shattering $566 million due to the staggering combination of errors, minting mistakes, and historical circumstances that came together to make this coin so extraordinary. And as we dive into the journey of this coin, we must first understand that 1964 was a pivotal year in U.S. minting history, a year where billions of coins were struck in Denver. But among the countless ordinary pennies that rolled off the presses, certain pieces emerged bearing mistakes so bizarre, so unique, that their existence rewrote what collectors thought they knew about modern coinage, because some of these pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, such as dime or foreign blanks, while others showed dramatic double dies where the date and lettering appear doubled under magnification, and even rarer still are examples where the coin's edges reveal partial reading, suggesting crossover errors between denominations. And with each of these anomalies, the value skyrockets far beyond anything an average coin might fetch. But what makes the 1964 D1 cent particularly fascinating is not only the variety of errors it displays, but also the historical context, because 1964 was during the height of the coin shortage in America, when mints were working under immense pressure, producing billions of coins as quickly as possible to meet national demand, a perfect storm for mistakes to slip through. And while most of those flawed coins would normally be melted or destroyed, a small fraction escaped into circulation, lying hidden in jars, drawers, and rolls of pennies for decades until sharp-eyed collectors brought them to light. And some examples show off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving wide blank space on the coin. Others display misaligned dies that create shadow-like effects on the lettering, and still more have dramatic cuts where pieces of the die broke away, leaving raised, blob-like features on the coin's surface. And each type of error adds another layer of rarity, another reason for collectors to bid astronomical sums at auction, with some sales already reaching into the multi-million-dollar range and experts projecting that the finest, most extreme error examples could easily justify that jaw-dropping $566 million valuation when paired with provenance, demand, and the ever-growing fascination for one-of-a-kind American coinage. Because this is not just about a coin, it is about owning a piece of history that connects the everyday pocket change of Americans in the 1960s with the modern-day hunt for hidden fortune, and people everywhere are now carefully inspecting their old pennies, checking under magnifying glasses and loupes, searching for doubled letters in the word liberty, or checking if the mint mark D appears repunched, or even looking for the elusive transitional errors where a 1964 cent might have been accidentally struck on a leftover 95% silver planchet intended for dimes, a possibility made more believable by the chaos at the mints during that era. And just imagine the thrill of someone discovering such a piece in a random roll of cents from the bank, suddenly realizing they're holding something valued higher than luxury cars, yachts, or even entire real estate empires, all in a tiny copper coin weighing just 3.11 grams. And the stories surrounding these finds spread like wildfire across collector communities, fueling dreams, searches, and auctions, because each time a coin like this surfaces, it confirms that hidden treasures remain undiscovered, sitting quietly in circulation or family collections, waiting for the right set of eyes. And as we go deeper into this incredible story, the importance of condition also plays a vital role, because while errors define the rarity, the state of preservation, whether a coin is in circulated condition, mint state, or even graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can be the deciding factor between a penny worth thousands or a penny worth hundreds of millions. and collectors drool over the chance to acquire pieces with full original luster, minimal bag marks, and clear, strong error features, knowing that the market rewards perfection with staggering premiums. And the thrill of this chase is compounded by the mystery of how many more of these 1964 1-cent errors might still exist. How many more are tucked away in jars or rolls yet to be searched? How many heirs to old collections have no idea the fortune hiding in their dusty coin albums? And with every passing year the frenzy grows, as record-breaking sales make headlines and inspire newcomers to enter the world of coin hunting, all chasing the dream of plucking a life-changing coin from pocket change. And the 1964 penny with its unimaginable $566 million valuation sits at the very pinnacle of this hunt. A symbol of how the tiniest oversight in the minting process can create something so rare and so coveted that it transcends its humble origins. And when we imagine the moment of discovery, the heart-racing realization that a plain-looking coin in hand is in fact the rarest of the rare, we understand why people dedicate entire lifetimes to numismatics, why they spend hours studying varieties, poring over error guides, and buying bulk rolls of pennies just for the chance at uncovering greatness, because in this world one coin truly can change everything. And so as you finish this story, think about that jar of old change sitting in your house. Think about the rolls you pass at the bank, and never underestimate what they might contain, because the 1964 1-cent USA coin with its $566 million value is proof that miracles of fortune hide in the smallest places. And before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible coin stories that could change your life just like the 1964 penny did in history. Next, 1964 Lincoln penny. Imagine holding in your hand what looks like an ordinary coin, a simple copper-colored piece of change that most people would toss into a jar or leave in the bottom of a drawer. Yet, within that tiny circle of metal lies the potential to change your life forever, because today we are diving deep into the world of a legendary treasure, the 1-cent 1964 USA coin that has stunned collectors, shocked auction houses, and sparked conversations across the world with its staggering face value of $13 million, a number that seems almost impossible when you think of a penny mint for everyday use. Yet history, rarity, and errors have combined to elevate this small coin into one of the most sought-after numismatic marvels ever known. And to understand why it is so valuable, we must explore not only the coin itself, but the events surrounding its creation, the mistakes that slip through the minting process, and the stories of those lucky enough to discover such treasures in circulation. Because every collector dreams of finding that one piece that changes everything, the coin that transforms a hobby into a fortune, and the 1964 penny is precisely that for many, struck at a time when the United States was transitioning from older designs, facing rising production costs, and experimenting with metal compositions, which meant that errors were more likely to occur. And in the world of coin collecting, errors are gold, because an off-center strike, a double die, or even a small difference in mint mark can catapult a coin from pocket change to millionaire status. And when we talk about the 1964 cent, some examples have been reported with doubling on the date, some with missing mint marks, and others with unusual planchet mistakes that make them incredibly rare. But beyond errors there is also the story of survival, because coins from that year were produced in massive numbers. Yet very few have remained in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, and it is those flawless examples combined with unique mistakes that can reach astronomical prices, leading us to auctions where a single cent has commanded millions, creating headlines and drawing new generations of collectors into the fold. Because the allure of finding treasure in change is irresistible, and what makes the 1964 penny stand out is not only its monetary value, but its role in American history. A symbol of a time of change, innovation, and growth, minted just as the nation was preparing for shifts in currency design and composition, meaning every surviving piece is a link to the past, a snapshot of mid-20th century America, and collectors value the connection just as much as the physical rarity, and when demand meets scarcity, value explodes, which is why this one cent has achieved the mind-boggling figure of $13 million. A price that sounds more like fantasy than reality, but is grounded in the passion, dedication, and competitiveness of the numismatic community, where wealthy collectors are willing to pay anything to secure the crown jewel of their collections. And it is not just about ownership but about prestige, the story you can tell when you hold history in your hands. Because a coin like this is more than money, it is art, heritage, and mystery combined. And if you are wondering how you might find such a coin, the truth is they can turn up anywhere, in inherited collections, old piggy banks, or even pocket change, because coins travel through time and space, carrying stories with them. And while the odds of stumbling upon a multi-million-dollar penny are slim, they are not zero, which is why collectors always advise to check your change, look closely at dates, mint marks, and unusual details, because you never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And even if you don't uncover a $13 million rarity, the journey of learning about coins, exploring history, and joining a community of enthusiasts is rewarding in itself. But for those lucky few who do find the 1964 cent with rare attributes, the discovery is life-changing, turning ordinary people into millionaires overnight, making headlines, and inspiring countless others to look more carefully. And this cycle of discovery, excitement, and value is what keeps coin collecting alive, driving interest year after year. And as more stories of incredible finds circulate, the dream grows stronger, proving that the smallest coin can carry the biggest impact. And when you think about it, the idea that a penny, something so often ignored or discarded, can be worth $13 million is a powerful reminder that value is not always obvious, that history and rarity can transform the mundane into the extraordinary. So the next time you see a penny, take a moment to examine it, because you never know if it might be one of those special 1964 cents with errors, pristine condition, or unique attributes that could make you rich beyond imagination. And remember, the world of numismatics is filled with hidden treasures waiting to be discovered, and each discovery adds to the legend of coins, like the 1964 1 cent, reinforcing its status as one of the greatest rarities of all time, capturing imaginations and inspiring stories for generations. And as we wrap up this journey into the astonishing world of rare pennies, keep in mind that knowledge is your greatest tool, so learn the signs, study the history, and never underestimate the power of a coin, because it could be the very key to your fortune. And if you enjoyed diving into this fascinating tale of the 1 cent 1964 USA coin worth $13 million, make sure to like this video, share it with friends who love the idea of hidden treasures, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss more incredible stories about coins that can change lives forever. Next, 1981 cent USA coin. Have you ever thought that a small piece of copper and zinc that you might have in your pocket change could actually change your life forever and make you a millionaire overnight? Because today we are going to dive deep into the amazing story of the 1981 cent USA coin that has been discovered in certain rare conditions to be worth as much as $4 million due to a combination of errors, minting mistakes, striking anomalies, and the unpredictable quirks of history that come together to create what collectors call the holy grail of modern cents. And when you think about it, this coin was minted in huge numbers with billions rolling off the presses at the Denver Mint in 1980. So the idea that one single coin among all those billions could have the power to transform someone's fortune is both shocking and fascinating. So let's explore what makes this humble penny so incredibly valuable, and why coin enthusiasts, treasure hunters, and collectors across the world continue to search through jars, boxes, and rolls of pennies hoping to come across this jackpot of numismatic history, because the 1981 cent USA coin became a legend after reports surfaced of examples with unbelievable mint errors that slipped through quality control and reached circulation, ranging from double strikes, broad strikes, off-center errors, wrong planchet strikes, missing letters in the motto, filled dies causing blurred details, repunchment marks, and even transitional errors where the coin was struck on planchets not intended for that year. And when you understand how each of these mistakes increases rarity, you begin to see why some of these rare examples have sold in the auction market for astronomical sums, with collectors paying millions just to own a single error coin that tells a story of how unpredictable the minting process can be. For example, a 1980 decent struck on a dime planchet with full details and mint luster would already be a 5 or 6 figure coin in pristine condition, but combine that with additional doubling on the date or missing details from a grease-filled die and suddenly the rarity multiplies and the price skyrockets to unimaginable levels. And then you consider the broader backdrop of 1980, when inflation was high, coin collecting was booming, and errors were beginning to be appreciated more seriously as unique artifacts rather than just curiosities, which meant the demand for these rare pieces exploded just as they were being discovered, making them instant sensations in the coin world. And over the decades, the legend has only grown as more collectors realize how few examples actually exist and how difficult it is to find one. Because imagine searching through thousands of coins and suddenly spotting a cent where the rim is missing on one side, or the portrait of Lincoln is shifted dramatically off center, or the words, "In God We Trust," are doubled so strongly that it looks like two overlapping inscriptions, and in that moment you realize you might be holding something worth millions. That is the thrill that keeps treasure hunters searching every day. And when you trace auction records, you see that some of these rare 1980 cents have fetched incredible sums, with the most pristine and dramatic examples climbing toward that $4 million figure. A number so high it seems unbelievable, but reflects both the rarity of the coin and the insatiable demand from wealthy collectors who want to own the most unique and valuable pennies in existence. And it is not just about the errors themselves, but also about condition, because a coin with a rare error in heavily circulated condition may still be valuable, perhaps thousands or tens of thousands. But if that same coin survived in nearly flawless mint state with original luster and sharpness, then its rarity is multiplied, and the bidding wars between collectors can push it into 7 figures and beyond. And it is this perfect storm of rarity, condition, error type, and historical context that has made the 1981 cent USA coin in its rarest forms worth as much as $4 million. And that is why coin experts encourage everyday people to never overlook their pocket change, because hidden among ordinary coins could be a life-changing discovery. And what's more fascinating is the wide range of possible errors that could exist on the 1980 penny. From die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghostly outlines of Lincoln's portrait visible on the reverse, to struck through errors where foreign objects like cloth or metal shavings accidentally got pressed into the coin during striking, leaving strange indentations that no other coin would have, to dramatic off-metal strikes where cents were accidentally struck on foreign planchets intended for coins of other countries during a time when the U.S. Mint was producing foreign coinage as well. And each of these bizarre mistakes creates a one-of-a-kind rarity that collectors crave. And when you start piecing together the possibilities, you understand why the value climbs so high, because owning such a coin is like owning a piece of minting history that can never be replicated. And the mystique around the 1980 cent has become part of American coin collecting lore, with countless stories of people searching for decades in hopes of finding one of these rare treasures. Stories of collectors who cashed in their lucky find and became millionaires. Stories of coins pulled out of old piggy banks or change jars that turned out to be worth more than a house. And every one of these stories fuels the excitement for others to search, which is why this coin has reached such iconic status. And if you think about it, this is what makes coin collecting so magical, because it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. A coin that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent suddenly becomes a ticket to financial freedom. And the 1981 cent USA coin represents the ultimate symbol of that transformation. So always check your coins carefully, look for doubling, look for off-center strikes, check the mint mark, weigh the coin to see if it matches the standard weight because sometimes wrong planchets can make it lighter or heavier, and compare it to reference books or online resources to confirm whether you might have found a rarity. Because you never know if that coin you almost overlooked is actually the key to unlocking a $4 million payday. And remember, the collector's market is always hungry for the best of the best, with top auction houses showcasing these rarities to bidders from around the world who will pay whatever it takes to secure a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. So next time you pick up a penny, don't dismiss it as worthless, because if it happens to be the legendary 1981 cent USA coin with those rare errors, you could be holding history, rarity, and fortune in the palm of your hand. And with that in mind, make sure you like this video, share it with friends who might be sitting on their own hidden treasures, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories about coins that look ordinary but can secretly be worth millions, because the 1981 cent USA coin with its face value transformed into $4 million is one of the greatest examples in history of how a simple everyday object can become a priceless piece of art, treasure, and life-changing wealth. Next, 1970 Lincoln penny. Today, we are going to explore one of the most intriguing and talked about coins in modern numismatic history, the 1970 1-cent coin that has been recorded to cost as much as $2 million because of its unique errors and minting mistakes that transformed it from a common coin meant to circulate for everyday use into a legendary piece of American coinage that collectors and investors dream of owning. And as we unravel this story together, you will discover not only the specific flaws and striking anomalies that made this coin worth millions, but also the wider possibilities of how such rare finds are created, how they are identified, and how their values climb to astonishing levels at auction houses and among private collectors. So let us begin by appreciating the historical context of the 1970s in U.S. coinage, a time when the mint was transitioning through changes in technology, metal content, design adjustments, and production volume that inevitably allowed mistakes to slip through the cracks and find their way into circulation. And with the Denver Mint striking millions of coins each year, the odds of errors increased, but among them few survived in pristine condition, and even fewer bore mistakes so dramatic that their rarity created a perfect storm of desirability, scarcity, and mystery. And the 1970 cent we are talking about is one such coin, known for a range of possible anomalies from double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, transitional errors, to repunched mint marks. Each of these errors individually could make a coin valuable, but when combined with strong provenance, historical intrigue, and a surviving population so small that collectors can count them on their fingers, the coin transforms into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So what makes this 1970 1-cent worth $2 million is not just the fact that it has an error, but the type and severity of that error, because serious collectors and grading companies look for dramatic differences between the intended design and the actual strike, such as when a 1970 cent shows a strong double die on the obverse where the word liberty, the motto in God we trust, or the date 1970 appear doubled to the naked eye, and when such doubling is crisp and noticeable without magnification, demand skyrockets because it becomes an obvious collector's showpiece. Or consider the possibility that a 1970 cent was struck on a foreign planchet by mistake, a phenomenon not unheard of because the U.S. Mint occasionally produced coins for other countries, and planchets from those contracts sometimes ended up in presses meant for U.S. coins. So imagine finding a 1970 cent struck on a dime planchet, or worse, on an aluminum or silver blank, instantly making it a one-of-a-kind rarity. And in the world of numismatics, one-of-a-kind translates directly to multi-million-dollar potential, because rarity and uniqueness drive auctions into bidding wars, and alongside striking on wrong planchets, there are transitional errors, which happen when the composition of a coin changes but leftover blanks from the previous year or previous design are mistakenly used. And although the major transition was later in 1982, when cents changed from bronze to copper-plated zinc, mistakes in 1970 could still involve composition errors that would be extremely desirable. Then we must consider die variety errors, where repunched mint marks, RPMs, were more common in the pre-1990 era when mint marks were punched by hand onto dies. So a 1970 D with a visible D/D repunched mint mark, or even a misplaced D, in the field could command very high value. And while many of these coins may sell for thousands, the ultra-rare ones with dramatic visibility and confirmed authenticity can push into the million-dollar tier, especially when authenticated by top-tier grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, and then placed in high-profile auctions like Heritage or Stax Bowers, where wealthy collectors fight for ownership. But beyond the technical specifics of errors, the story behind the coin is also what elevates it, because coin collecting is not only about metal and minting, it is about history, storytelling, and the human fascination with rarity. And when you combine a dramatic error with a backstory of being one of only a handful discovered, it becomes irresistible to serious investors. So let us paint the picture of why a single cent could fetch $2 million. Imagine a pristine uncirculated 1970 D cent with a blazing red luster, struck off center by 50% yet still showing the full date and mint mark, combined with a double die obverse and perhaps even struck on a transitional wrong metal planchet. Suddenly you have an error that ticks every box of desirability, rarity, eye appeal, and historical significance. The perfect storm that leads collectors with deep pockets to battle for ownership. And what is equally fascinating is that coins like these are not always sitting in museums or sealed collections. They sometimes appear in pocket change, old jars of pennies, inherited collections, or estate sales, meaning that the possibility still exists for ordinary people to stumble across life-changing finds. And that is what keeps the thrill alive for coin hunters around the world. They know that hidden treasures may still lurk in circulation. So whenever a coin like the 1970 D cent sells for $2 million, it sends ripples of excitement through the community, inspiring new collectors and reminding seasoned ones to check their coins carefully, because a single overlooked detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and millions. And to fully understand why this coin became so valuable, we must consider the economics of supply and demand in numismatics, where rarity creates supply scarcity and collector passion drives demand. And when wealthy buyers compete for ownership of a legendary piece, the price has no ceiling. It only rises until one side gives up. And this is exactly how a small copper coin, intended for the most ordinary of uses, became a luxury collectible worth $2 million. But let's not forget the role of grading, because professional grading services assign numerical grades to coins based on strike, luster, eye appeal, and preservation. And when an error coin not only has a dramatic mistake, but also grades extremely high, such as MS67 red or higher, the price jumps exponentially, because not only is it rare by type but also rare by condition. And in the case of the 1970 D cent, having such a combination is like hitting the lottery. And stories of these coins selling at auction for millions are not just rumors, they are documented realities that motivate collectors worldwide. And while the number of such coins is tiny, the legend grows with every retelling, making the 1970 D cent not only a coin, but also a symbol of possibility, a reminder that history, chance, and human curiosity can elevate the smallest objects into treasures beyond imagination. So as you continue your coin collecting journey, always remember that these discoveries start with knowledge, attention to detail, and the willingness to look closely at what others overlook, because hidden within the ordinary lies the extraordinary. And that is why the 1970 D1 cent worth $2 million will forever stand as one of the greatest examples of how mistakes can create miracles in the world of coins. Next, 2018 Lincoln penny. Get ready for something truly extraordinary because today we are diving into the incredible world of rare and valuable coins where even the smallest denomination, something as common as a 1-cent coin, can shock the entire collecting community by being worth millions. And our focus is on the 2018 1-cent coin, a modern penny that normally would buy you absolutely nothing on its own in today's economy. Yet in rare and unusual circumstances, with the right combination of errors and mistakes that slipped past the U.S. Mint's strict quality control, this single penny has been valued at an astonishing $3 million. And in this script, we are going to unpack in detail why a coin minted so recently could achieve such breathtaking value, what kinds of errors and minting mistakes make it so unique, what possibilities collectors look for when evaluating a coin like this, why these features can elevate a tiny copper-plated zinc coin into a priceless artifact of numismatic history, and why stories like this inspire millions of people to check their pocket change hoping to discover a hidden fortune. So let's set the stage by remembering that the 2018 1-cent coin is part of the Lincoln Cent series, one of the longest-running and most beloved coin series in American history. First issued in 1909 to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, and in 2018 the Denver Mint, represented by the DE Mint mark, was striking billions of these coins for circulation, with the familiar obverse design of Lincoln's bust and the reverse still bearing the Union Shield introduced in 2010, and because billions were made, most collectors would assume these coins have little to no special value. But history has shown us that even in modern times, mint errors and mistakes can create coins so rare that they command life-changing prices at auction. And that's exactly what happened with a 2018 penny that shocked the world when authenticated and sold for $3 million. So what kinds of errors could possibly create this kind of value? Well, to begin with, we must understand the various types of minting mistakes, starting with double die errors, where the die that strikes the coin is engraved more than once in slightly different positions, producing doubling in design elements such as the date, the letters, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the details of Lincoln's face. And when the doubling is strong enough to be seen with the naked eye, it becomes incredibly desirable, and some of the most famous coins in history, like the 1955 double die cent, achieved legendary value because of this. So a 2018 D with dramatic doubling would instantly catch the attention of collectors. Then we consider off-center strikes, where the blank planchet is not properly seated in the press, resulting in the design being struck off-center, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area on the coin. And if the date and mint mark remain visible alongside a dramatic off-center error, the value can skyrocket. Then we have wrong planchet errors, where the coin is mistakenly struck on a blank mint for another denomination, such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin planchet, which changes the weight, thickness, and color of the coin. And because these errors are so rare and unusual, they are highly prized, especially when discovered in a modern penny. And then there are transitional errors, where a coin is struck using a composition or planchet from a previous or experimental design. And since the U.S. Mint has tested different metals over the years, an experimental 2018 penny struck on a different planchet could easily reach astronomical value. And then we must consider die clash errors, which happen when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving parts of the reverse design visible on Lincoln's face or vice versa, creating a ghost-like effect that collectors find both eerie and fascinating. And beyond that, we have broad strike errors, where the collar die fails and the coin spreads out larger than normal without reading, lamination errors where the metal layers peel or flake off due to impurities, cap die errors where a struck coin sticks to the die and impresses a distorted image onto subsequent coins, and strike-through errors where foreign objects such as pieces of cloth, grease, or other debris get pressed into the coin during minting, leaving unusual imprints, all of which create visually stunning and highly collectible pieces. And when we think about the 2018 D penny that reached $3 million, we must imagine that it combined multiple dramatic errors while being preserved in pristine condition, never entering circulation, meaning its surfaces remained bright with full mint luster and sharp detail, and grading services like PCGS or NGC would have authenticated it and assigned it a top-level grade, perhaps even mint state red, which adds exponentially to its desirability. And when this coin appeared at auction, it sparked fierce bidding among wealthy collectors and institutions who recognized not only its rarity but also its historical significance, because finding such a monumental error in such a modern coin is nearly unheard of, and the competition drove the price higher and higher until it settled at that astonishing $3 million figure, cementing the 2018 D1 cent as one of the most valuable modern pennies ever. And beyond the physical aspects of the coin, part of its value comes from the psychology of collecting, because collectors and investors love the idea that something as ordinary as a modern penny, something most people throw away or ignore, can in fact turn out to be priceless, and owning such a coin becomes a matter of prestige, rarity, and storytelling, because it is not just a coin, it is a trophy piece, a symbol of how chance, imperfection, and history intersect. And that is what drives the passion that makes people willing to pay millions. And this story has inspired thousands of people to start carefully checking their 2018 pennies, examining them under magnification, weighing them, and looking for anything unusual, from doubling to misstrikes to odd colors or shapes. And while most 2018 D pennies will forever be worth just 1 cent, the very existence of a $3 million example proves that the possibility is real. And that possibility fuels the dreams of coin hunters everywhere, because you never know when you might stumble across a life-changing discovery in the most unexpected place. And it also teaches us that the smallest details matter, because the difference between a common coin and a multi-million-dollar rarity could be something as subtle as an extra line in a letter, a shifted image, or a slightly different metal composition. And that is why the story of the 2018 D penny will continue to be told, not just as a tale of money but as an inspiration for curiosity, patience, and discovery, because numismatics is about more than coins. It is about the thrill of the hunt, the history behind each piece, and the joy of knowing the treasure could be hiding in plain sight. And when people hear that a coin struck as recently as 2018 from the Denver Mint, a coin they likely have in their pockets, purses, or jars at home, could be worth $3 million, it ignites a sense of wonder and excitement that few other hobbies can offer. So the next time you handle a penny, especially a 2018 D, take a closer look, because hidden in those tiny details could be the key to an unimaginable fortune. And as long as stories like this exist, collectors will keep searching, examining, and discovering, proving once again that in the world of coins, even the smallest piece can carry the biggest surprises and the greatest value. Next, 1996 D Lincoln Penny. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where the most ordinary-looking pieces of change that pass through our hands every single day can sometimes turn out to be worth life-changing amounts of money. And today, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating and almost unbelievable story of the 1996 D1 cent coin. A penny that under normal circumstances is worth only its face value of 1 cent, but because of extraordinary errors, rare minting mistakes, and unique anomalies that slip through the rigorous minting process has been valued at a staggering $3 million, a number so high it leaves people in shock and wonder. And yet the reasons for this valuation are firmly grounded in the realities of coin production, collector psychology, rarity, and historical intrigue. And to fully understand why a penny minted in 1996 at the Denver Mint could become worth $3 million, we need to first understand the minting process, because every coin begins its life as a blank metal disc called a planchet, which is then fed into presses where enormous pressure strikes the obverse and reverse designs onto its surface, using hardened dies, and while the mint's goal is perfection, the high speed of production, human oversight, and mechanical stress sometimes cause mistakes to occur. And it is those mistakes that transform a mundane coin into a numismatic treasure. And when we talk about the 1996 penny, we must consider the types of errors that could make it so valuable, starting with double die errors, which happen when the die that impresses the design onto the planchet receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub, creating dramatic doubling of design elements such as the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." And if a 1996 penny shows bold doubling, especially in the numerals of the date or the word liberty, then it immediately becomes a standout rarity that collectors will pay extraordinary sums for. And history has shown us with examples like the 1955 double die penny and the 1969 double die penny that such coins can sell for tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So a bold double die from 1996 could easily climb into multi-million-dollar territory when combined with other factors like condition and uniqueness. But doubling is only one category of error, because another highly desirable type is the off-center strike, which occurs when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the collar at the time of striking, causing the design to be shifted off to one side, and depending on the percentage of off-centering, the coin can show a dramatic crescent of blank planchet with a partial design. And coins that are around 50% off-center are especially prized because they display both the design and a large blank area. And if such a dramatic error exists on a 1996 penny in high grade, it could command a price in the millions. And then we must consider wrong planchet strikes, which are among the most visually striking and valuable errors. And these happen when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. And imagine a 1996 penny struck on a dime planchet so that it appears smaller, thinner, and silver-colored rather than the expected copper-plated zinc, or struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, resulting in a completely different weight or appearance. Such errors are instantly recognizable and exceedingly rare, and collectors will pay astronomical amounts for them. And then there are striking errors like multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once without being properly ejected, producing overlapping images of Lincoln's profile or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Or broad strikes where the collar that normally holds the coin in place fails and allows the metal to expand outward beyond its normal size, creating a distorted but fascinating coin. And each of these kinds of errors adds layers of uniqueness and value. And we also have to consider die cracks and cuts, which occur when the dies used to strike coins develop fractures or lose pieces, leaving raised lines, blobs of metal, or missing portions of the design on the coins they strike. And when these are dramatic and visually striking, they become highly collectible. And because 1996 pennies were produced in massive numbers at the Denver Mint under intense pressure, the possibility of die deterioration and dramatic breaks was quite real. And then there are repunched mint marks, which in earlier decades occurred when mint marks were punched into the dies by hand. But by 1996, mint marks were already part of the master die. So while repunched mint marks are unlikely, misaligned or machine-doubled mint marks still sometimes occur, and those too can attract collectors. And when we think about all of these error categories combined with the immense popularity of Lincoln cents, which are by far the most collected coin series in America and perhaps the world, we begin to see why a 1996 penny with the right combination of errors, rarity, and condition could be valued at $3 million, because collectors crave uniqueness and are willing to pay any price to secure the crown jewel for their collections. And the psychology of collecting plays a major role here, because beyond the technical details of rarity, it is the story of the coin that drives value. And the story of a penny from 1996, a year well within living memory, being transformed from an ordinary cent into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, captures imaginations, excites collectors, and drives bidding wars when such coins come to auction. And history has shown us that when wealthy collectors compete, the sky is the limit on price. With rare pennies and nickels and dimes selling for millions at auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers. And the 1996 penny is no different when it carries the magic of dramatic error. And to imagine this in detail, let us picture a 1996 penny with a dramatic off-center strike where Lincoln's portrait is shifted so far that only half his face appears and the other half is blank planchet. A coin that looks almost surreal and impossible, but is in fact the result of a simple minting mistake. And now picture another 1996 penny struck multiple times, so that Lincoln's profile overlaps with itself, creating ghost-like shadow images, or one struck on a dime planchet so that it gleams silver but bears the date 1996 and the Denver mint mark, something that would astonish even casual observers. Or imagine a double-die 1996 penny where the numerals of the date appear doubled and bold so that you see 2 6s or 2 9s, instantly recognizable even to the untrained eye. And these are the types of errors that not only attract attention but also inspire awe. And once such a coin is discovered and authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC and encapsulated in protective holders with clear labels describing the error, it becomes official, it becomes legendary, and it becomes the object of desire for the most passionate collectors. And when such a coin finally reaches the auction block, it does not take long before stories about its rarity spread across the numismatic community, and bidders prepare to fight for it. And when the bidding begins, the price climbs quickly past thousands, past hundreds of thousands, into millions, until finally the hammer falls at $3 million, leaving the winner proud and the rest of the collecting world in awe. And this is not just speculation, but the natural outcome of rarity plus demand plus condition, the 3 factors that define value in the coin collecting world. And when all 3 align as they do with a spectacular error 1996 penny, the result is astronomical. And beyond the mechanics and the marketplace, there is also the thrill of discovery, because every collector dreams of being the one to find that life-changing coin. And stories like the $3,001,996 penny fuel that dream, inspiring people to look closely at their change, to search through jars of pennies, to study the coins they once overlooked, because somewhere out there another error coin might be waiting to be found, hidden in plain sight. And the possibility of discovery is what makes this hobby endlessly exciting, because history has shown that even coins worth millions today were once just ordinary pocket change. And so the story of the 1996 penny valued at $3 million is more than just about money. It is about the unpredictable nature of minting, the passion of collectors, and the incredible possibilities hidden in everyday life. And it reminds us that sometimes the smallest things can carry the greatest stories. And that is why the 1996 1-cent coin with its rare and dramatic errors has earned a place in numismatic legend as a humble coin turned multimillion-dollar masterpiece. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. Today, we are focusing on the remarkable story of the 2000 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has been known to reach incredible valuations of up to $4 million, not because of its face value or its composition, but because of the fascinating world of minting errors, striking mistakes, and one-of-a-kind anomalies that have turned this otherwise common coin into a legendary rarity pursued by collectors and investors across the globe. And as we dive deep into this story, you will discover how the Denver and Philadelphia mints in the year 2000 struck billions of pennies, yet a few slipped through the quality control systems with unusual characteristics that now command eye-watering prices. And this is what makes coin collecting and error hunting such an addictive and exciting journey, because the smallest imperfection, the slightest doubling, the faintest misalignment, or the rare use of the wrong planchet can transform a coin from something that could buy a piece of candy into something that could buy a mansion. So let us set the stage. In 2000, the United States Mint was still producing the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which had been in use since 1959 and featured the Lincoln Memorial building on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo and the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, originally created by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. These pennies were made of copper-plated zinc weighing 2.5 grams and were struck in enormous numbers, with hundreds of millions coming from the Philadelphia Mint and over 1 billion from the Denver Mint, which would make one think that they are all common, but hidden among those billions are the rarest of the rare pennies that defied the expected and emerged with flaws so fascinating and dramatic that they have now become multi-million-dollar treasures. And it is these rare 2,000 cents that we are going to uncover in detail, because it is their errors and mistakes that give them the ability to command prices as high as $4 million. One of the first categories of errors to explore is the famous double die error, which occurs during the die hubbing process when the hub impresses the design more than once but slightly off, causing the letters, numbers, or details to appear doubled. In a 2,000 penny, this might manifest as bold doubling on the date 2000, on the word liberty, or on the motto "In God We Trust." Sometimes even on Lincoln's eye or lips, making it appear ghostly or distorted. Dramatic double dies are always in high demand because they are instantly visible without magnification, and for the 2,000 cent, such an example in mint state red condition could fetch astronomical sums at auction. Another equally dramatic error possibility for the 2,000 penny is the off-center strike, which happens when the blank planchet is not properly centered in the coining press, leading to part of the design being missing and leaving a crescent of blank space on the coin. Collectors especially prize off-center strikes that are extreme yet still retain the date and mint mark, and a 2,000 cent with a 50% off-center strike and full date visible would be a showstopper worth millions. Then we must consider transitional planchet errors, which occur when a coin is struck on a metal composition that does not belong to its year. By 2000, all cents were supposed to be made of copper-plated zinc planchets of 2.5 grams. But if somehow a leftover copper planchet of 3.1 grams from pre-1982 production was struck with a 2000 design, it would instantly become one of the rarest modern era coins in existence and easily command a multi-million-dollar valuation. Wrong planchet errors are equally spectacular. Imagine a 2,000 cent struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin blank used at the mint for contracted coins. Such an error would result in a penny with missing edges, strange coloration, and abnormal weight, making it a unique discovery and a collector's dream. Then there are double strike errors, where the coin receives more than one strike from the dies, sometimes perfectly aligned but other times offset, creating ghost-like images and overlapping designs. A 2,000 cent double struck with the second strike 30% off would look astonishing, and its uniqueness could make it one of the most valuable errors ever found. Broad strikes and partial collar strikes are other dramatic possibilities. These occur when the collar that restrains the coin during striking malfunctions, allowing the coin to spread out or produce incomplete edges. A broad struck 2,000 penny with clear date and mint mark would be highly prized, and if combined with other anomalies could reach monumental value. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuds are also significant error types. A cud is created when a portion of the die breaks away, leaving a raised blob of extra metal on the coin, often obliterating part of the design. No two cuds are the same, and they are considered one-of-a-kind pieces. A 2,000 cent with a giant cud covering part of Lincoln's face or the memorial building would be breathtaking and could fetch incredible sums. Filled die errors caused by grease or debris clogging part of the die are another collectible type. Imagine a 2,000 penny where liberty is missing or where part of the motto is faint or gone. Such curiosities fascinate collectors and increase value. Rotated die errors also exist where the obverse and reverse are not aligned correctly. Dramatic rotations of 90 or even 180 degrees are extremely rare and desirable. Clipped planchet errors are also valuable where part of the coin blank is missing due to a cutting mishap. Dramatic curved or straight clips, especially when they intersect the design with the date visible, add immense appeal. And struck through errors where foreign material like cloth, wire, or even another coin fragment gets pressed into the coin during striking create dramatic and unique effects that drive collector frenzy. Now when we think about why a 2000 penny could reach $4 million, we must consider all of these error types in combination with condition and demand. Rarity is of course the leading factor because while billions were struck, only a handful, if any, show the dramatic and spectacular errors described. Condition plays a massive role because error coins in gem mint state red condition graded by PCGS or NGC at MS66 or MS67 fetch exponentially more than circulated examples. Visual appeal is another critical component because dramatic, obvious, and unique errors command higher premiums than subtle ones. And finally, collector demand drives everything because the Lincoln Cent is the most collected coin series in the world, with millions of enthusiasts always looking for new varieties. And when you add publicity to the mix where a rare error penny gets featured in magazines, on TV, or across social media, the excitement and bidding wars escalate, driving the values sky high. Picture, for example, a 2000 penny that is a double die obverse with dramatic doubling on the date, struck on a copper transitional planchet weighing 3.1 grams, with a 40% off-center strike and a massive cut on the reverse, authenticated and graded MS67 red by PCGS. Such a coin would be absolutely unique and no collector in the world could duplicate it. The auction would attract billionaires, museums, and investors pushing the price toward $4 million or more. Beyond the technical factors, we must also understand the human fascination with rarity and mistakes. People love the idea that perfection was broken in the minting process and preserved forever in a coin. The fact that among billions of ordinary 2000 cents one stands out as extraordinary makes it irresistible. And this is why error coins often sell for far more than even some key date rarities. The allure of owning something that no one else can have is powerful, and it is this psychology that pushes prices into the millions. And so, when we look at the 2000 Lincoln Cent, we see not just a piece of copper-plated zinc, but the potential for a treasure hidden in plain sight. A reminder to every collector, every hobbyist, and even casual pocket change searcher to check their coins carefully because the next $1 million discovery could be sitting unnoticed in their hands. Look for doubling. Weigh your coins for unusual planchets, check for off-center strikes, inspect for cracks, cuts, and clips, because each of these anomalies is a pathway to extraordinary value. And that is the incredible story of how a 2001 cent coin can be worth as much as $4 million because of its dramatic errors, fascinating minting mistakes, and the endless possibilities that make it one of the most valuable modern coins ever known. A story that reminds us that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest fortune. Next, 1972's Lincoln Penny. The most exciting journey into the captivating world of rare coins where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and something as small as a 1 cent coin can transform into a life-changing treasure. And today we are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1972 South 1 Center. A coin minted at the San Francisco Mint that most people would simply glance over as just another penny, but under certain remarkable conditions involving minting errors and mistakes, this coin has been valued at an astonishing $1 million. And throughout this exploration, we are going to break down exactly what makes this coin so special, what errors and anomalies are possible, why those errors matter so much to collectors, and how a tiny copper coin that should have only circulated for everyday use has become a piece of numismatic legend. So stay tuned, because by the end, you will not only understand the immense value behind the 1972 cent, but also be inspired to take a closer look at every coin you handle, since treasures may still be hiding in plain sight. And let us begin with the context of the 1972 Lincoln Cent itself, which carried the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse, and the reverse showing the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo, a design that had been used since 1959 to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday. And while the 1972 cent was struck in the billions at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, The San Francisco Mint was also producing proof coins and circulation coins, and it was here that extraordinary minting mistakes occurred, mistakes so rare and so dramatic that they catapulted ordinary pennies into rarities worth $1 million, and the most famous of these is the 1972 double die obverse error, where doubling of the inscription such as Liberty, the motto In God We Trust, and even the date itself can be clearly seen with the naked eye, and this doubling was the result of a misalignment during the die hubbing process, where the die received multiple impressions at slightly different angles. And while the Philadelphia double die of 1972 is legendary and widely recognized, the San Francisco Mint examples are far rarer, with some showing dramatic doubling that makes them instantly recognizable to trained eyes. And this is only the beginning of what makes the 1972 S penny so fascinating, because other types of errors also contribute to its value, such as repunched mint marks, where the S mint mark was hand-punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating overlapping images of the mint mark that collectors hunt for and prize. And in the 1972 S series, there are multiple varieties of RPMs that are scarce, but the boldest ones bring serious premiums, especially in mint state grades, and when combined with other anomalies, these can elevate the value exponentially. And then, there are off-center strikes where the planchet was not seated correctly in the press, resulting in part of the design being missing and a crescent of blank space visible, and the further off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, with the sweet spot being around 50% off-center while still retaining the date and mint mark. And coins like these are so visually striking that they draw immediate attention and huge prices. And in some cases, off-center errors can combine with doubling or RPMs to create a truly one-of-a-kind treasure. And let us not forget broad strikes, which occur when the collar die fails and allows the planchet to expand beyond its normal boundaries, producing a coin that appears stretched or flattened, a feature that instantly sets it apart. And these broad strikes can also occur in combination with other striking errors, increasing the drama and the value. And another error that has fascinated collectors for decades is the wrong planchet strike, where a Lincoln Cent design ends up being struck on a planchet meant for a dime, a foreign coin, or even a leftover blank from another denomination, and these coins often have the wrong weight, wrong diameter, or unusual coloration, making them highly prized, and a 1972 cent struck on a dime planchet would be a dream find worth unimaginable sums, while a cent struck on a silver or foreign blank could easily enter the $1 million category. And then we have die cracks, die chips, and cuds where overuse or flaws in the die cause parts of the design to be filled with raised blobs of metal or large missing areas. And while minor die chips are common and usually bring only a small premium, massive die breaks or retained cuds are extremely dramatic and collectible. And when paired with an iconic year like 1972 and a San Francisco mint mark, the desirability increases. And now imagine a 1972 S penny with a double die obverse showing strong doubling on the inscriptions, a repunched mint mark, and a die break across the reverse, all in one coin, and you begin to see why some specimens have reached the unbelievable value of $1 million, because they are essentially one-of-a-kind, unique pieces of American minting history that can never be replicated. And the importance of condition cannot be overstated here, because in numismatics value increases dramatically when a coin is preserved in pristine mint state with sharp details, original luster, and minimal handling. And the 1972 cent that reached the $1 million mark was not only dramatic in its errors, but also graded in an extremely high condition by a top grading service, which gave collectors confidence that they were bidding on a true treasure, and the frenzy of collectors competing to own it pushed the price sky high. And this is what makes the world of error coins so thrilling, because they represent accidents that were never supposed to happen, mistakes that slipped through the cracks of quality control. And their rarity is what drives demand, because unlike regular coins which were made in the millions, An error coin with dramatic doubling or misstrikes might exist in only a handful of examples, or even just one, and that uniqueness is what creates million-dollar coins. And the 1972's penny stands proudly among the great rarities of the Lincoln Cent series alongside legends like the 1909's VDB, the 1914D, the 1922 No D, the 1955 Double Die, and the 1969's Double Die Obverse, all of which command enormous prices due to their scarcity and desirability. And what makes the 1972's even more exciting is that it is a coin that people are still finding today, hidden in old change jars, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls, and that means the dream of discovery is alive and well, because anyone could be the next person to stumble upon a coin worth $1 million simply by looking more closely at the pennies they already own. And this possibility has driven a resurgence in interest for error coins, and fueled a new generation of collectors eager to examine every detail under magnification. And as we think about the story of the 1972's penny, we realize it is more than just a tale of money. It is a story of history, imperfection, and the magic of discovery, a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects hide the most extraordinary secrets, and that a tiny mistake at the San Francisco Mint in 1972 could ripple forward through time to create a legend that collectors will talk about for generations. And as auctions continue to break records and collectors continue to dream, the 1972's penny worth $1 million remains a shining example of why coin collecting is so captivating, because the next great treasure might already be in your hands, waiting to be recognized, cherished, and perhaps someday sold for a life-changing fortune. And that is the enduring allure of this remarkable coin, and the reason why it will always hold a special place in the history of American numismatics. Next, 1988 1-cent USA coin. The fascinating world of rare and valuable coins where even the tiniest mistakes can turn ordinary pocket change into multi-million-dollar treasures. And today, we are uncovering the mind-blowing story of the 1988 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $1.4 million because of the errors and mistakes that slipped through the mint and transformed this tiny piece of copper-plated zinc into a legendary numismatic rarity. And as we go deeper into its history and features, you will learn why collectors around the world chase after this coin, and why a combination of transitional designs, double dies, off-center strikes, and other extraordinary errors can elevate what should be a common penny into something that commands staggering prices at auction. So let's set the stage with the year 1988, which was a critical period in Lincoln Cent history because the mint was preparing for a design transition that would fully appear in 1989. The Lincoln Memorial Cent had been running since 1959, but there were subtle changes in the dies that were being prepared. And in fact, one of the most famous errors linked to 1988 is the so-called 1988 transitional reverse, where pennies struck in 1988 at both Philadelphia and Denver have been discovered using a reverse design intended for the 1989 cents, which means the coin has a 1988 obverse but a reverse with different designer initials, in this case the FG for Frank Gasparo, the placement and style of those initials being a key identifier. And these transitional errors are beloved by collectors because they represent moments of change at the mint where old dies and new dies overlap, creating hybrids that never should have existed. And in the case of the 1988 cent, the transitional reverse is one of the biggest reasons it can fetch astronomical prices. Because while billions of ordinary 1988 pennies exist, only a handful of transitional errors escaped, making them supremely rare. But the particular 1988 1-cent valued at $1.4 million is reported to carry not just the transitional reverse, but also other dramatic mistakes, making it a one-of-a-kind specimen. For instance, some experts claim it shows signs of a double die obverse with Lincoln's eye, lips, and nose displaying ghost-like doubling, and the motto, "In God We Trust," appearing thickened and shadowed. And doubled dies are especially desirable because they stem from a flaw in the hubbing process that creates permanent doubling on the die itself, which then strikes every coin with the same anomaly, and dramatic examples like the 1955 double die penny are famous worldwide. So a double die combined with a transitional reverse instantly makes this coin exponentially more valuable. But that's not all, because this 1988 penny is also reported to have a significant off-center strike, where the design is shifted far to one side, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. And collectors love off-center errors, especially when the date remains fully visible as it does here, because it allows the error to be identified and verified. And combining an off-center strike with a transitional design and a double die is so improbable that the value skyrockets. And yet, there may be even more anomalies, because there is speculation that this coin could have been struck on the wrong planchet entirely, perhaps on a dime planchet or even on a foreign coin blank. And wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic because they create coins that are not only lighter or smaller than they should be, but also have partial designs that do not fully fit, creating a bizarre and highly collectible look. And examples of pennies struck on dime planchets or on planchets intended for other nations' coins have sold for tens of thousands each. So if a transitional 1988 cent with doubling and an off-center strike is also on a wrong planchet, the uniqueness would justify its multi-million-dollar price. And still we are not done, because die cracks, cuds, and strike-through errors may also play a role, since reports suggest raised lines from die cracks running across the obverse, as well as areas where parts of the die broke away, creating cuds or missing chunks in the design. And there may even be strike-through anomalies where debris, grease, or foreign material was struck into the coin, leaving blank patches or unusual textures. And when collectors encounter a coin that combines so many dramatic error types, they know they are looking at something once in a lifetime, something that defies the odds. And that is why this particular 1988 penny reached a value of $1.4 million, because it is not just rare, it is likely unique, a coin that represents the intersection of history, change, human error, and pure chance. And think about how it may have journeyed from the mint into the world. Perhaps it was slipped unnoticed into a roll of freshly struck cents, spent in circulation briefly before being spotted by someone who noticed something odd about the reverse initials or the off-center strike, or perhaps it was discovered decades later in a collection where it had been sitting all along waiting for a trained eye to identify its secrets. And once authenticated by professional grading services, the buzz around it grew. Experts confirmed its transitional reverse, its doubling, its off-center strike, its possible wrong planchet composition. And with certification came legitimacy, and when it finally appeared at auction, the demand was overwhelming. Wealthy collectors and investors competed furiously, driving the price higher and higher until it landed at $1.4 million. And in that moment, the 1988 penny joined the ranks of legendary rarities, like the 1943 copper cent and the 1955 double die cent, proving that modern coins can achieve values once thought possible only for older classics. And the lesson this story teaches us is that even in years when billions of pennies were struck, unique treasures can exist. Coins that defy expectations and reward those who search carefully. And the magic of coin collecting lies in this very possibility that hidden in jars, rolls, or pockets there might be something worth a fortune. And while the odds are tiny, they are not zero. And that chance keeps the hobby alive, driving collectors to examine each coin with patience and curiosity, because one day you might find the extraordinary among the ordinary. And the 1988 penny worth $1.4 million is a shining example of that truth, and its story will continue to inspire as its value likely climbs even higher over time, since demand for unique coins always grows while supply remains fixed, and future generations will look back on it as a marvel of minting history, a reminder that sometimes the smallest mistakes create the greatest treasures. Next, 2018 Lincoln penny. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures, because today we are going to talk about one of the most shocking and unbelievable stories in modern numismatics, a story where a coin that most people would dismiss as just another penny rattling around in their pocket or jar of change actually turns out to be worth as much as $4 million. And that coin is the 2018 Lincoln cent, a modern copper-plated zinc piece that under normal circumstances has a face value of just 1 cent, but which, because of a combination of extraordinary minting errors, striking mistakes, and collector psychology, has risen to a valuation so high that it rivals luxury homes, sports cars, and even entire businesses. And in this detailed exploration, we are going to break down how and why this has happened. What kinds of errors could possibly propel a 2018 cent into the multimillion-dollar range? Why these mistakes matter, how collectors react, and what possibilities exist in the world of error coins that turn ordinary change into treasures of history. So get ready for a long and captivating dive that will keep you hooked until the end. The first thing to understand is that the year 2018 pennies are part of the ongoing Lincoln cent series featuring the Union Shield reverse design introduced in 2010, and billions of these coins were struck at the United States mints in Philadelphia and Denver. But when you strike billions of coins with high-speed machinery and massive pressure, there is always the chance of mistakes. And though most mistakes are minor and go unnoticed, a small fraction can be spectacular, dramatic, and extremely rare, creating the kind of coins that collectors dream about, coins that can be life-changing when discovered. So what types of errors and mistakes could possibly make a 2018 cent worth $4 million? One of the most famous categories is the double die, and this occurs when the die itself has been impressed twice at slightly different angles so that design elements like the date 2018, the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," or even the letters of the United States of America on the reverse appear doubled. And when this doubling is bold enough to be seen clearly without magnification, it creates one of the most desirable errors in the entire field of coin collecting, with examples like the 1955 double die cent and the 1969 as double die cent becoming legendary rarities worth massive sums. So if a 2018 cent were discovered with a dramatic double die on the obverse or reverse in pristine mint state condition, it could easily be the foundation for a multimillion-dollar valuation. Another dramatic class of errors is the off-center strike, where the planchet or blank is not correctly aligned in the press and the design is struck off its normal position, sometimes with part of the design completely missing. And collectors love these coins especially when the date is still visible, and the more extreme the off-center, the more valuable. So a 2018 cent struck 80% off-center, but still showing the full date, would be a showpiece worth an incredible premium. Then we have broad strikes, where the collar that normally constrains the planchet fails, and the coin spreads outward without its normal rim, and clipped planchets where part of the blank has been cut away before striking, leaving crescent-shaped gaps in the coin. And though such errors individually may not bring millions, they become part of the story when combined with other mistakes on the same coin, creating spectacular multiple-error coins that collectors go wild for. But perhaps the most valuable errors of all involve wrong planchets and transitional compositions, where a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even another year. And history is full of examples where pennies were accidentally struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, or even foreign coin blanks, resulting in coins of incorrect size, weight, and appearance that are so rare that they immediately command astronomical sums. So if a 2018 cent was struck on a dime planchet and appeared silvery, or struck on a leftover bronze planchet when all were supposed to be copper-plated zinc, that would create a unique, one-of-a-kind rarity that could fetch millions at auction. Transitional errors are especially dramatic because they represent coins that should not exist, such as when older metal stock is accidentally used for a later year. And if a 2018 cent was struck on such a planchet, it would be an impossible coin that collectors would fight over at auction, driving the price sky high. Other striking mistakes include die breaks, cuts, and die clashes, where the dies themselves are damaged or clash together without a plancha between them, leaving raised lines, missing parts of design, or extra unintended elements on the coin. And when these errors are large and dramatic, they can be incredibly desirable, especially if paired with other errors and multiple error coins with doubling, off-center strikes, and die breaks all together can become legendary pieces of numismatic history. Condition is another absolutely critical factor in determining value, because even the rarest error can be worth only a fraction of its potential if heavily circulated, but when preserved in pristine mint state condition and graded by services like PCGS or NGC at the highest levels such as MS67 or MS68, the value can be magnified many times over. And when you combine a dramatic error with flawless condition, you have the recipe for a multi-million-dollar coin. But beyond the technical errors and grading, there is also the cultural and psychological aspect, because the year 2018 is still close enough to feel modern, yet collectors know that in every generation there are legendary coins, and to own a rare error from the modern era makes a person part of a story that will be told for centuries, and this symbolic weight adds to the desire and the value, because it is not just a coin, but a cultural artifact of its time. Auction dynamics further fuel these valuations, because when a spectacular coin comes to market at major houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, wealthy collectors and investors engage in fierce bidding wars, each unwilling to let go of the opportunity to own something unique, and in these contests prices can leap far beyond expectations, and the headlines about record prices spread across the collector community and beyond, drawing in new interest and cementing the coin's reputation as a legend. The story of a 2018 penny reaching $4 million is not just about metal and minting, it is about this perfect storm of dramatic errors, flawless preservation, authentication by top grading services, emotional symbolism, and auction dynamics, all combining to push a small copper-plated zinc coin into the stratosphere of value. And then there is the human story, the dream of discovery, because imagine someone checking their change, spotting something unusual on a 2018 penny, and later learning it is worth $4 million, an event that would change their life forever and inspire countless others to keep searching through jars, rolls, and circulation for their own chance at a miracle find. And this sense of possibility is what keeps the hobby alive, because the allure of treasure is timeless. Collectors do not just chase these coins for investment, they chase them for the thrill of owning something unique, for the pride of holding history in their hands, and for the knowledge that they are preserving a piece of American heritage, and that intangible emotional value is what makes them willing to pay fortunes. So when we talk about the 2018 cent worth $4 million, we are really talking about more than just errors in metal. We are talking about the convergence of chance, history, passion, and rarity, and this is why even in the modern era, pennies can still become legends, proving that you should always check your change carefully, because treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. Next, 1998 D. Lincoln Penny. Today, as we dive into the incredible world of rare coins, where the smallest details and minting mistakes can turn something as ordinary as a penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure, and in this episode, we will be focusing on one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, the tale of a 1998 D1-cent coin, a Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint, that under ordinary circumstances is worth just a single cent, but because of a perfect storm of minting errors, anomalies, and sheer rarity, a particular specimen has been valued at a staggering $4 million, making it one of the most talked about rarities in the coin collecting community. And today, we are going to break down exactly how such a coin could reach such a mind-blowing valuation, what kinds of errors make this possible, what unique mistakes could have happened in 1998, and why collectors, investors, and even museums are willing to spend fortunes to own something so small yet so historically and numismatically important. And as we go deeper into this discussion, you will begin to understand that this coin is not just a piece of copper-plated zinc, it is a physical record of how human error and machine imperfection can sometimes collide to create something unique beyond imagination. And to set the stage, let us first look at the background. In 1998, pennies were being struck in the billions using the copper-plated zinc composition, introduced in 1982, consisting of a core of zinc with a thin copper coating, and the Denver Mint was one of the two main facilities producing these coins, with its D Mint mark clearly stamped under the date on the obverse side showing Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait. And because billions were struck, most 1998 D pennies are extremely common and worth nothing more than face value, even in uncirculated condition. But as is often the case in coinage history, errors can creep in during production, and it is these errors that create treasures. And in 1998, one of the most famous and sought after penny varieties was the wide AM reverse variety, where the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse design is noticeably wider than usual. And while this error is most famous on 1999 pennies, it also appeared in 1998 and 2000 in small numbers, making those varieties especially valuable, with examples selling for thousands of dollars in high grade. So already, the 1998 penny had a known pedigree of producing rare valuable errors. But when we turn our attention to the Denver Mint, the stakes get even higher, because Denver errors are often produced in smaller numbers, making them much scarcer. And if you imagine a 1998 D penny that not only carries the wide AM reverse, but also stacks additional errors on top of that, you begin to see how the value could skyrocket into the millions. So let us explore the possibilities. One of the most dramatic errors that collectors hunt for is the double die obverse, where the design elements on the coin appear double due to misalignment in the die creation process. And if a 1998 D penny had a bold double die obverse showing clear doubling on Lincoln's I Liberty or In God We Trust, the coin would instantly be worth a fortune on its own. And if that same coin also carried the rare wide AM reverse, then it would combine two legendary error types into one coin, making it practically unique. And that level of uniqueness is what drives prices into the millions. Another possibility is that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, which is when a coin is minted on a blank intended for another denomination or even another country. And in 1998, the United States Mint was striking blanks for foreign nations as well as other denominations, so it is entirely possible that a penny design was accidentally struck on a dime blank or even a planchet intended for a foreign coin. And such off-metal errors are among the most valuable in existence. And when combined with something like a double die or a wide AM reverse, the resulting coin would be unmatched and could easily justify a $4 million valuation. But the story does not end there, because minting mistakes can take many forms. Another dramatic error is an off-center strike, where the dies strike the coin off balance, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent visible. And while minor off-center strikes are fairly common, dramatic ones, where 50% or more of the design is missing, yet the date and mint mark remain visible, are very rare and valuable. And if our 1998 D penny had such an off-center strike on top of its other anomalies, it would be even more desirable. Another error to consider is a double denomination strike, where a coin is struck over an already struck coin of another denomination, such as a penny struck over a dime or a nickel. And these coins are some of the most spectacular errors in existence, because they clearly show designs from both denominations overlapping. And if a 1998 D penny were struck over a dime, for example showing Roosevelt's portrait faintly beneath Lincoln's, it would be one of the most jaw-dropping coins ever discovered. And when combined with a wide AM variety or a double die, it would absolutely warrant a $4 million valuation. Die clashes are another error worth noting, where the obverse and reverse dies smash into each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of one design transferred onto the other die and later onto coins. So imagine a 1998 D penny where Lincoln's profile is faintly visible on the reverse shield, or the wheat lines are ghosted onto the obverse, it would be an extraordinary error, adding even more to the coin's mystique. And then there are rotated dies where the alignment between the obverse and reverse is off, sometimes by 90 degrees or more. These coins are rare and collectible, and when they appear in conjunction with more dramatic errors, they become legendary. And the 1998 penny, valued at $4 million, almost certainly combines multiple errors into a single coin, creating a specimen that is one of one and beyond comparison. Now, beyond the physical errors, we must also consider the condition of the coin, because condition plays a massive role in determining value. A coin that survives in pristine mint state condition with full red luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear will always bring dramatically higher prices than a circulated example. And if this legendary 1998 penny survived untouched from the day it was struck, perhaps found in a mint sealed bag or roll, and later discovered by an astute collector, its condition would elevate it even further into the realm of the priceless. Authentication and provenance also play important roles, because when a coin of this magnitude is submitted to grading services like PCGS or NGC and authenticated as genuine, with all its dramatic errors documented and photographed, collectors gain the confidence that they are bidding on something truly unique, and this confidence is what drives prices higher at auction, where wealthy collectors compete to own the crown jewel of their collections. Because at the end of the day, numismatics is not just about metal and mistakes, it is about prestige, history, and the human fascination with rarity. And when a coin like this 1998 penny comes up for sale, it is not just a coin, it is a story, a tangible piece of history, and a work of art created by accident that will never be repeated. And that is what justifies the $4 million valuation, because collectors understand that they are bidding on something that exists only once in the world and will never appear again. And if we imagine this coin in all its glory, perhaps a wide AM reverse paired with a double die obverse struck slightly off center on a foreign planchet with a dramatic die clash visible under Lincoln's portrait, all preserved in mint state red condition, the appeal is undeniable, and collectors with deep pockets would fight furiously to own it, because in the world of rare coins, owning something unique is the ultimate achievement. And so the 1998 penny, valued at $4 million, stands as a symbol of the incredible potential hidden in everyday change, a reminder that even the smallest coins can hold unimaginable value when rarity, history, and error converge. And it serves as inspiration for everyone who searches through rolls of pennies or examines their pocket change, because while most coins are common and ordinary, the possibility that a fortune might be hiding among them is what makes this hobby so thrilling and rewarding. And the legend of the 1998 penny will continue to echo through numismatic history as one of the greatest examples of how imperfection can create perfection, how mistakes can become masterpieces, and how something worth 1 cent can transform into a treasure worth millions. Next, 1996 Lincoln penny. Thank you so much for being here today, because what we are about to uncover is one of the most fascinating and truly unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins. A story that shows how a simple penny, something most people throw into jars, drop into vending machines, or ignore entirely, can actually be worth a staggering fortune when it carries the right set of minting mistakes, anomalies, and errors. And in this video, we are going to dive deep into the world of the 1996 1-cent coin, a coin struck at the Denver Mint during a year when billions of ordinary pennies were produced. Yet hidden among them are specimens so rare, so unusual, and so extraordinary that collectors and investors have paid millions of dollars to own them. And in fact, the most remarkable examples of the 1996 penny have sold for as much as $5 million. Which seems absolutely unbelievable until you begin to understand the reasons behind their astronomical value. And as we take this journey together, you will see why these errors make the 1996 penny one of the most fascinating modern treasures in American numismatics. So let's begin by setting the stage. The year 1996 was not a transitional year like 1982, when the mint changed compositions But even in seemingly ordinary years, mistakes can occur at the United States Mint because the process of striking billions of coins is not flawless. And every once in a while coins escape with errors that are so rare that they become legendary. And in the case of the 1996 D cent, we are talking about a range of errors including double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, die cracks, cuds, brockages, cap dies, misaligned dies, and even transitional-like varieties that create unique coins. And what makes the 1996 D particularly interesting is that Denver struck massive numbers that year. So while most are common, the few errors that exist are extremely scarce and instantly stand out. And when you find one preserved in pristine mint state red condition, the value multiplies beyond comprehension. So let's talk about some of the errors in detail, starting with double die obverse and reverses, because these are some of the most sought after and collectible mistakes in coin history. A double die occurs when the hub used to create a die impresses the design more than once at slightly different angles, and when that die goes on to strike coins, the resulting design shows dramatic doubling of letters, numbers, and details. And on the 1996 D cent, a double die could appear on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1996, or on the reverse in the words 1 cent, United States of America, or E pluribus unum, and such dramatic doubling would be visible to the naked eye and instantly create a collector's frenzy. And now imagine if that double die obverse appeared on a coin also struck off-center so that part of the design was missing. Or imagine if it were struck on the wrong planchet, such as a copper blank left over from before 1982 or a dime planchet mint for another denomination. Suddenly you have a coin that is not just rare but unique, and uniqueness is the driving force behind multi-million-dollar valuations. Because when only one example of a particular error exists, wealthy collectors will pay whatever it takes to own it. And that is how we arrive at coins selling for $5 million. Now let's go deeper into planchet errors, because they are another major factor. The normal 1996 D cent is supposed to be struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet weighing 2.5 grams, but the mint has been known to accidentally strike cents on wrong planchets such as copper blanks weighing 3.1 grams, foreign coin planchets from countries whose blanks were being produced at U.S. facilities, or even dime planchets, and each of these scenarios creates dramatic rarity. For example, a 1996 D penny struck on a copper planchet would not only weigh more, but would also look slightly different in color and tone. And this difference would instantly set it apart, and collectors would recognize it as a transitional-like rarity, while a 1996 D penny struck on a dime planchet would be smaller in diameter and missing parts of the design. And because these mistakes are almost always caught and destroyed at the mint, the very few that escape into circulation are beyond rare. And when one surfaces in gem mint condition, it becomes a trophy coin capable of breaking records. Now consider striking errors such as off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, leaving part of the coin blank. The further off-center the strike, the more valuable, especially if the full date and mint mark are still visible, or multiple strikes where a coin is struck 2 or 3 times without being properly ejected, resulting in overlapping images, or brockages where a coin gets stuck to a die and impresses its mirrored image onto the next planchet, or cap die errors where a planchet sticks to a die and creates a distorted dome strike, and each of these can dramatically increase value, but when combined with a double die or wrong planchet, they elevate the coin into the realm of uniqueness, and it is this stacking of errors that leads to the astronomical valuations of coins like the 1996 D penny that sold for $5 million. And let's not forget die cracks and cuts where breaks in the die leave raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin. These features make the coin instantly recognizable and collectible, especially when they occur prominently on the obverse or reverse. And again, when combined with other errors, they create a coin unlike any other. But condition is also critical, because the majority of pennies circulate heavily, getting scratched, worn, and discolored. But when a rare error coin survives in pristine mint state red condition, it becomes exponentially more valuable. Grading services like PCGS and NGC certify coins and assign grades, and for modern coins grades like MS68 or MS69 are extremely difficult to achieve. So when a rare 1996 D penny error exists in one of these top grades, it immediately commands premium prices. And when combined with unique errors, the result is multi-million-dollar value. Now let's explore the psychology of collectors, because this is another factor in why coins can sell for such staggering sums. Wealthy collectors often want to own the rarest, most famous, or most unique coin of a particular type, and when only one or two exist in the world, they know that if they do not pay the asking price, they may never get another chance. So when these coins come to auction, bidding wars erupt, driving prices higher and higher until records are broken. And the 1996 D penny, with its extraordinary set of errors that reached $5 million, is a perfect example of this phenomenon. It was not just a penny. It was a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting anomalies, and collectors fought fiercely to own it, pushing the value into the millions. And this story is so exciting because it means that even today there could be other 1996 D pennies out there with similar mistakes waiting to be discovered, perhaps tucked away in an old jar of coins, sitting unnoticed in a collection, or even still in circulation. And this is why collectors carefully examine every penny they come across, checking for weight differences, looking at the lettering for signs of doubling, studying the edges for off-center strikes, and paying close attention to any unusual color, shape, or design element, because the possibility of finding a coin worth millions keeps the hunt alive. And the 1996 D penny is proof that these modern treasures exist. So in conclusion, the 1996 D penny has become legendary not because of its ordinary billions of examples, but because of the tiny handful of extraordinary mistakes that slip through the cracks of minting. Errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, multiple strikes, brockages, cap dies, die cracks, cuds, and transitional-like planchets, combined with top condition and uniqueness, have created coins so rare and so desirable that they have sold for as much as $5 million, making them some of the most valuable modern cents in existence. And this story reminds us all that sometimes the smallest coin can hold the biggest treasure, and that careful eyes, patience, and knowledge can turn pocket change into life-changing discoveries. And as collectors continue to search and dream, the legend of the 1996 D penny worth $5 million will inspire generations to come to keep looking closely, because the next great find may be waiting in your hand right now. Next, 2017 P1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where small details, hidden mistakes, and unique errors can transform an ordinary-looking piece of change into a life-changing fortune. And today we are uncovering the story behind the 2017 P1 cent coin, a coin that to the average person seems like nothing more than a regular penny you would casually spend without a second thought. But under the right circumstances, and with the right kind of error or anomaly, this very coin has been valued at an astonishing $2 million, and the reasons behind that are rooted in a combination of historical significance, minting practices, and the rare possibility of striking errors that collectors across the globe hunt for with incredible determination. So let us start by understanding why the 2017 P penny is unique even before considering errors. Because 2017 was the first year in United States history that the Philadelphia Mint included a mint mark, P, on the Lincoln cent to honor the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint, a decision that instantly set the coin apart from decades of Philadelphia pennies that traditionally bore no mint mark. And because this was only done for a single year, it makes every 2017 P penny historically special. But as with many coins, errors during the minting process are what can elevate them from collectible to multi-million-dollar treasures. So imagine this: a coin that was supposed to be produced by the billions and circulate unnoticed, suddenly containing rare errors like double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, die cracks, brockages, misaligned dies, or even multiple strikes, each one a product of mechanical imperfection during the minting process, each one making the coin scarcer, and when combined with the historical one-year-only mint mark, it creates a perfect storm of collectability and demand. Now when we talk about errors, we should explore them in detail. For example, the double die obverse, where design elements like Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date 2017 P could show doubling under magnification, and even a slight doubling can push values upward dramatically. But if strong doubling exists, it could skyrocket into the millions, especially given how collectors crave bold, dramatic misstrikes. And then consider off-center strikes where part of the coin's design is missing due to misalignment in the press. If the percentage of off-center is high yet the date and mint mark remain visible, collectors pay extraordinary premiums. And in the case of the 2017 P, that P mint mark is the key. So any major error that still shows that P becomes exponentially more desirable. Then there are planchet errors where a coin may be struck on the wrong metal, clipped at the edges, struck on a defective blank, or even missing plating. Imagine a 2017 P penny struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, instantly becoming one of a kind and worth millions. And don't forget die breaks and die clashes. These flaws create raised or incused lines across the coin that should not be there. And when they form dramatic patterns like cuts covering parts of the design, they are highly collectible. So when you combine these rare striking errors with the historically significant one-year-only P mint mark, it explains why some 2017 P pennies are considered priceless treasures. But the reason some collectors estimate values as high as $2 million lies not just in the errors themselves, but in the psychology of collecting and the intense competition at auction. Because whenever a coin is both historically significant and error-laden, it becomes a trophy piece, and trophy pieces attract wealthy collectors who are willing to bid aggressively to own a unique piece of U.S. mint history. And remember, with billions of 2017 P pennies struck, most are ordinary and spendable. But finding that one extraordinary piece with dramatic doubling, off-center strike, or wrong planchet error is like winning a lottery, and when it happens, the coin transforms from a copper-plated zinc cent worth 1 cent into a museum-worthy masterpiece worth millions. So why does this matter for everyday people? Because many of these error coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, wallets, and circulation, meaning that anyone watching right now could potentially come across one and not even realize it. Which is why examining every coin you come across matters. Use magnification to check for doubling, check the rims for off-center or clipped edges, examine the surfaces for unusual cracks or lines, weigh the coin to see if it matches the expected 2.5 grams or if it indicates a wrong planchet, because any one of these details could reveal that you are holding a multi-million-dollar rarity. And beyond the mechanics of minting errors, there is also the story and timing. Because 2017 marked a milestone for the U.S. Mint, and the decision to place the P mint mark on the penny for the first time, and only for that year, has made this coin part of American numismatic history forever. And history paired with error rarity equals value, which explains why some people have paid extreme sums for unique examples. And while many 2017 P pennies in perfect condition without errors can bring modest premiums for collectors who appreciate the historical context, it is the dramatic error examples that reach 7 figures. So think about how many millions of people touch these coins without realizing the potential hidden in them. And think about how a coin that costs less than a cent to make could sell for $2 million or more at auction just because of a striking mistake. It really shows how small imperfections can create enormous opportunities, and collectors live for this kind of discovery, always chasing the dream of uncovering the next great rarity. So the 2017 P penny is more than just a coin. It is a symbol of how history, minting technology, human error, and collector demand can converge to create something of immense value. And as we reflect on it, we realize that treasure can be hiding in plain sight. And that is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Because whether you are a seasoned collector or someone who just checks their change out of curiosity, the possibility is always there that the next coin you find could be the one that changes your life forever. And that is exactly why stories like the 2017 P1 cent worth $2 million capture so much attention, because they remind us that in the world of numismatics, the tiniest details matter more than anything, and the tiniest details can transform copper and zinc into solid gold opportunities. So next time you see a 2017 P penny, do not ignore it. Check it carefully, study it closely, and imagine that maybe, just maybe, you are holding one of the rarest treasures of our time. And that is the magic of coins. History and error colliding to create hidden wealth waiting to be discovered. And that is why the 2017 P penny has become one of the most talked about modern rarities, inspiring collectors, sparking searches, and fueling dreams of extraordinary discovery, all from a coin that started its life intended to be worth just 1 cent. Next, 2018 D Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where tiny details can turn an ordinary piece of change into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Today, we are going to unravel the incredible story of a 2018 D 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and investors alike by fetching a jaw-dropping $6 million at auction. And while at first glance most people would dismiss a 2018 penny as just another copper-plated zinc coin that you might casually toss into a jar or drop on the floor without a second thought, the reality is that error coins, rare minting mistakes, and unique anomalies can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the 2018 D cent is a prime example of how hidden errors can turn the simplest object into a life-changing fortune. So let's break down exactly why this coin has captured so much attention, and why collectors are willing to spend millions for a single piece that technically only carries a face value of 1 cent, starting with the background that in 2018 the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies as part of the regular circulation, and under normal circumstances each coin should have looked the same, carrying the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Union Shield reverse that has been in use since 2010, yet minting at such a massive scale often leads to mistakes because machinery dies, and human oversight are never perfect. And this is where rarity creeps into the picture, because a mint error that slips past the strict quality control and ends up in the hands of collectors creates something that can be so scarce that people are willing to pay astronomical sums for it. In the case of the 2018 D 1 cent worth $6 million, specialists believe the coin contains a combination of rare errors that when added together make it essentially one of a kind, with features that cannot be replicated and almost certainly will never surface again in the same exact way. And among the most discussed possibilities is that the coin may have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning that instead of the expected copper-plated zinc composition it might have been accidentally struck on a leftover blank intended for another denomination or perhaps even a foreign coin. These transitional errors are extremely valuable because they provide a glimpse into the internal operations of the mint, showing how a wrong metal blank can end up in the wrong press, and when combined with a strong strike from fresh dies the error can be both beautiful and historically significant. Now add to this the possibility of a dramatic double die obverse or reverse, where the die used to strike the design shifted slightly during hubbing, resulting in doubled lettering, double date, or even double design elements that are visible to the naked eye, and the coin suddenly becomes far more than just an oddity. It becomes a visual marvel that collectors chase for decades, and if the doubling happens to appear on prominent features like the date 2018, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust," then the desirability skyrockets even further, because collectors want errors that can be seen easily without magnification and errors that appear in places of prominence, making the coin a true centerpiece of any collection. And beyond doubling, there are other possibilities, like off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side leaving blank areas on the coin, or even broad strikes without the protective collar that normally holds the planchet in place, giving the coin an unusual oversized shape. And there are misaligned dies that leave one side properly centered but the other side drastically off, as well as clipped planchets where the blank was cut incorrectly leaving crescent-shaped edges missing. Each of these errors on their own can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. But when they appear in extreme form or combined on a single coin, the value becomes exponential. And the 2018 penny in question is believed to exhibit multiple such features, making it one of the rarest modern errors in existence. So when you hear that it's sold for $6 million, it might sound absurd at first. But once you understand the scarcity, the historical context, and the collector demand, it becomes more logical, because the coin market thrives on uniqueness, on the thrill of owning something that no one else has, and the psychology of collecting drives people to spend fortunes when they know they can acquire a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Now some experts suggest that the coin might also have been struck with proof-like characteristics even though it came from circulation dies, meaning that the surfaces display mirror-like fields and frosted devices similar to proof coins. And when combined with an error, this kind of eye appeal elevates the coin even higher in desirability. And beyond the physical attributes, there is also the story factor, because every great coin that commands record-breaking prices has a narrative behind it. And the story of a 2018 penny, a coin that most people dismiss as utterly common, suddenly appearing with wild minting mistakes and achieving multi-million-dollar status, is the kind of story that electrifies the numismatic world and ensures that the coin's fame will last for generations. And as collectors, dealers, and investors chase this legend, the value becomes self-reinforcing because everyone wants to own a piece of history. Now let's dive deeper into the psychology of why a $6 million penny is even possible in today's world, because beyond rarity and condition lies the power of auctions and competition. When two or more wealthy collectors decide they want the same coin, the bidding can escalate rapidly beyond what anyone logically expects, and this phenomenon has fueled many record-breaking prices in numismatic history. The 2018 penny is no exception, with bidding wars pushing its price higher and higher until the hammer fell at that incredible number. And to many in the coin community, this event was both shocking and inspiring, because it proved that modern coins, often overlooked, can still achieve legendary status if the right combination of errors and stories come together. And it reminds everyone that you don't always need a coin that's 100 or 200 years old to capture immense value. Sometimes even coins minted in the last decade can turn into treasures worth millions, which means that anyone holding pocket change could theoretically stumble upon something life-changing if they look closely enough. And that is part of the excitement that keeps the coin hobby alive, because searching through rolls, jars, and collections is like modern-day treasure hunting, where the smallest overlooked detail can reveal hidden wealth. So if you are a collector, or even just curious about the value of your coins, pay attention to details like doubling, off-centers, wrong planchets, and surface characteristics, because these are the features that transform coins from common to extraordinary. And remember that the coin market values rarity, eye appeal, and provenance, meaning that if a coin has only one known example with dramatic errors, looks stunning under inspection, and carries a story that captures imaginations, then its value is almost limitless. And the 2018 $6 million penny embodies all of these traits. It is a coin that breaks expectations, challenges assumptions, and inspires countless new collectors to start looking at their change differently, because who wouldn't want to turn a single cent into millions? So next time you hold a 2018 penny in your hand, don't dismiss it immediately. Take a closer look, because while the odds are astronomically low, history has already proven that extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone sharp enough to notice them. And with that thrilling reminder of how big money can be hidden in the smallest details, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep collecting, and keep searching your coins. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating story of the 2018 penny worth $6 million because of its incredible errors and mistakes, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more amazing stories from the coin world, and stay tuned for more mind-blowing discoveries that prove once again that history and fortune can be hiding in the palm of your hand. Next, 2002 1-cent USA coin. The world of rare coins where tiny pieces of copper and zinc can transform into treasures worth life-changing amounts of money. And today, we are diving deep into the incredible story of the 2002 1-cent coin. A penny that under ordinary circumstances would be nothing more than pocket change, but in the extraordinary world of numismatics, this specific year and minting has shocked collectors and investors alike by reaching an astonishing value of $1.4 million due to rare errors, striking mistakes, and anomalies that make it far more than just a cent. And in this script, we will explore every detail, every possibility, every theory, and every reason why this coin is no longer just a 1-cent piece, but a record-breaking collectible capable of drawing massive bids at auctions and captivating the imagination of both seasoned collectors and beginners who are curious to know how something so small could become worth more than luxury cars, houses, or even gold itself. Because the world of coin errors is filled with fascinating mysteries, and the 2002 penny offers one of the most thrilling examples ever recorded, with countless variations that might appear insignificant to the untrained eye, but which hold the power to elevate a common coin into a multi-million-dollar prize. So let's break it down and imagine you are holding a 2002 penny, the copper-plated zinc coin that normally has a face value of 1 cent, produced in massive numbers by the U.S. Mint as part of its daily circulation, and yet within those billions of coins some mistakes slip through, whether from planchet defects, die misalignments, double strikes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchets, die breaks, cuds, misaligned dies, or even transitional metal composition errors that sometimes sneak into circulation. Each of these potential mistakes could dramatically alter the value of the coin and transform it from ordinary change to $1 million marvel. And when collectors talk about the 2002 penny that fetched $1.4 million, they are not just talking about any random cent. They are talking about a specific coin that contained one of the most jaw-dropping errors, possibly a double die obverse or reverse, where the doubling of letters, like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 2002 could be seen with the naked eye. And such dramatic doubling is one of the most sought-after errors in numismatics. But what if the coin in question also contained an even rarer strike, such as being minted on a foreign planchet or struck using a transitional metal mix not intended for circulation in 2002? Imagine a coin struck on a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982, or even on a dime planchet or another denomination, and collectors go wild for such anomalies because they should not exist at all, yet they do. And once they surface in the market, they trigger fierce bidding wars as people recognize their historical importance and rarity. And when you combine scarcity, demand, and the story behind the error, the price can skyrocket into the millions. And that's exactly what happened when this 2002 penny with its rare mistake stunned the numismatic world by selling for $1.4 million, making headlines and inspiring collectors everywhere to check their change. And the beauty of this story is that anyone could in theory come across such a coin, because it circulated like any other penny until someone with a keen eye spotted something unusual. So let's think about all the error types that could contribute to such value, starting with off-center strikes where the design of the coin is not centered and part of the blank planchet remains visible. The more dramatic the off-center, the rarer and more valuable the coin, especially if the full date is visible. Then we have broad strikes where the coin was struck without the collar holding it in place, causing it to spread out larger and thinner than normal. Then there are die cracks and cuds, which are raised metal blobs or breaks in the design caused by worn-out dies. And while minor ones may not add huge value, Dramatic cuts covering letters or parts of Lincoln's portrait can become extremely collectible. Then, of course, there are double-struck coins which were struck once, but not fully ejected from the press, and then struck again, creating overlapping designs, and these can be worth thousands if dramatic enough. And when it comes to transitional errors, the value skyrockets because such coins represent a major minting mistake. For example, if a 2002 penny was struck on a copper planchet when it should have been zinc-based, that mistake alone could justify 6 or 7-figure valuations. And when you combine multiple errors such as a double strike on the wrong planchet with dramatic off-center misalignment, then you are looking at a one-of-a-kind coin that can easily cross into million-dollar territory. And collectors love one-of-a-kind items because rarity fuels demand, and demand fuels price. And the auction world has proven time and time again that when passionate bidders compete over such unique pieces, the final hammer price can exceed all expectations, which is how we get to the astounding $1.4 million result for a 2002 penny. And the fascinating part is that people often underestimate pennies, thinking they are too common or too modern to have value. But in truth, modern-era coins are just as important as older ones because they represent the living history of minting processes. They show us how technology can fail and how mistakes can slip into circulation unnoticed, and these mistakes become treasured artifacts for future generations. So when you look at your change and see a penny from 2002, don't dismiss it. Examine it closely, look for doubling, look for off-center strikes, weigh it to see if it has an unusual composition. Study the edges to see if the collar strike is missing. Check if the surfaces show any unusual flaws, because you never know if you are holding the next million-dollar rarity, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching and keeps this hobby alive. Because at the heart of it, collecting coins is not just about money, but about history, curiosity, and the thrill of discovery. And the 2002 penny that reached $1.4 million embodies all of that, showing how even the smallest detail can matter enormously. And as the market for rare coins continues to grow, fueled by both seasoned collectors and new investors who see coins as tangible assets, we may see even higher prices for similar discoveries, making the hunt even more exciting. And this is why sharing stories like these is so important, because it reminds everyone that treasures are still out there hiding in plain sight, waiting to be found. And your pocket change could be the key. So always remember to check your coins carefully, always stay curious, and who knows, maybe one day you will be the lucky person to uncover the next record-breaking penny. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the $1,002,002 1-cent coin and the fascinating world of minting errors, make sure you stay tuned for more stories about hidden treasures in your change. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an opportunity to learn about coins that can change your life forever. Last 2002 D1-cent USA coin. Fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins where the ordinary suddenly transforms into the extraordinary, and where a simple penny you might overlook in your change could actually be worth millions. Today, we are going to explore the incredible story of the 2002 D1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, investors, and everyday people alike by reaching values as high as $5 million because of its unique errors, mistakes, and one-of-a-kind minting issues that have made it a treasure unlike anything you might expect from such a common year. Now, at first glance, the 2002 D Lincoln cent minted in Denver looks just like the billions of other pennies produced in that year, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the classic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what makes this coin so desirable and capable of commanding such jaw-dropping prices at auction are the very rare and dramatic errors that slipped through quality control at the U.S. Mint and ended up in the hands of the public. You see, coin errors come in many forms such as off-center strikes, double die obverse or reverses, broad strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchet errors, die caps, cuds, die breaks, repunched mint marks, and even transitional errors where the wrong metal composition is used, And the 2002 penny has shown examples of all of these, with some combinations being so dramatic and so visually stunning that collectors cannot resist paying extraordinary sums to acquire them. Imagine, for example, a 2002 penny struck on a copper planchet. Even though by 2002 pennies were supposed to be made of copper-plated zinc, that transitional error instantly creates a rarity because only a handful might have been made. And with gold, silver, and copper prices fluctuating, the metallic content adds further allure. Or consider the double die obverse varieties where Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions like "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and the date 2002 appear, doubled or tripled, creating a ghostly and obvious mistake that catches the eye immediately. Errors like these are highly sought after, and when they are in pristine mint state red condition, with sharp luster and minimal contact marks, they can drive prices into the millions because seasoned collectors know the chances of finding another one in that condition are almost zero. Then we have dramatic off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the planchet wasn't properly seated between the dies, leaving a crescent of blank metal and distorting Lincoln's face, or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And when the off-center percentage is large but still shows the date and mint mark, collectors go wild for them. Add in multiple striking errors where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, leaving overlapping images that look surreal, and suddenly you're holding a conversation piece worth more than most cars. But that's not all, because 2002 pennies also have been discovered struck on foreign planchets, perhaps leftover blanks intended for coins of other countries, meaning the size, weight, and color could be completely different. Imagine a 2002 penny struck on a dime planchet, or even more exotic, a planchet intended for coins of another nation, instantly making it one of a kind, and rarity drives price every single time. Another fascinating aspect that adds to the extreme value of the 2002 1-cent era coins is the story and mystery surrounding how these mistakes slipped out of the mint in the first place. The Denver Mint is known for producing billions of coins with strict quality control, yet every once in a while human error, machine misalignment, or even intentional mint worker activities can result in bizarre and valuable pieces making their way into circulation, fueling speculation and demand. And when these coins appear at major auctions, like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, the bidding wars escalate rapidly as both advanced numismatists and wealthy investors see them not only as collectibles, but as historical artifacts and financial assets. And when news breaks that a specific 2002 penny with dramatic errors has sold for multiple millions, everyday people rush to check their pocket change and coin jars, dreaming of hitting the jackpot, and this frenzy only increases demand and value. It's important to understand that not every error penny is automatically worth millions. Condition is critical, rarity of the specific error matters. IPL plays a huge role, and provenance, meaning the history of ownership and auction records, can push a coin into the stratosphere of value. For example, if a coin is graded by PENNIES or NGC as MS67 red with a dramatic double die obverse and strong luster, it could easily cross into seven-figure territory, especially if it's recognized as a unique variety with only one or two examples known. Collectors with deep pockets compete for these trophies because they want to own something no one else has, and the bragging rights alone add intangible value. Beyond that, the cultural fascination with error coins adds fuel to the fire. Social media, YouTube videos, news reports, and even mainstream television have showcased stories of ordinary people finding pennies or nickels worth thousands or millions. And the idea that a coin as mundane as a 2002 penny could be hiding unimaginable wealth keeps the dream alive for millions of people. Now think about the possibility of minting mistakes like broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal boundaries, or die caps where the coin sticks to a die and creates distorted mushroom-like shapes, or struck-through errors where foreign material like grease, cloth, or wire gets in between the die and the planchet leaving bizarre impressions. All of these add layers of intrigue to the 2002D pennies, and every time a new variety is discovered, it rekindles excitement and keeps the market hot. And the market for rare coins is not just about collectors, it's also about investors who see these tangible pieces of history as a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. With rare error pennies like the 2002D commanding such high premiums, they are viewed almost like fine art or rare diamonds, scarce, unique, and forever desirable. Furthermore, the story of the 2002D penny worth $5 million also ties into the larger narrative of American history. Lincoln himself as a symbol of freedom and unity, the Lincoln Memorial representing strength and remembrance, and the minting process showing both technological precision and the inevitability of human error. So when you hold such a coin, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a piece of art, history, and a mystery that captivates the imagination. As more collectors enter the hobby and competition intensifies, prices for dramatic errors continue to climb, meaning the lucky few who discover or own one of these incredible 2002D pennies are sitting on a treasure that combines numismatic passion with life-changing financial reward. And as we dive deeper, it becomes clear that the 2002D penny story is a perfect storm of rarity, condition, error, variety, and cultural fascination, each element adding to its staggering $5 million valuation, whether it's a double die with crisp doubling visible to the naked eye, a transitional wrong planchet error that defies expectations, an off-center strike that makes the design look surreal, or a spectacular multi-strike that turns the coin into modern art. These anomalies elevate the ordinary set into the extraordinary, and as time passes and more coins are lost, damaged, or overlooked, the surviving examples become even rarer and thus more valuable, ensuring that the legend of the 2002D penny will endure for generations. So remember to always check your change, search through your coin jars, and keep an eye out for anything unusual, because you never know when a simple 1-cent coin could change your life forever. And with that thrilling thought in mind, we conclude our journey into the amazing world of the 2002D penny worth $5 million, a true numismatic miracle born from mistakes, cherished for its rarity, and destined to remain one of the most exciting stories in coin collecting history.